Hi guys, what is going on? Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to this video. I think we have quite an interesting champion guide today. It is going to be Rector Drath. Why is that interesting? Well, I do want to talk about Rector Drath, but I do also want to talk about revivers in the game and how important are revivers. Do we actually need them that much? In which places do we need them? And what does our team composition and the rest of our champions have to do with the importance of a reviver in the team? And I think Rector Drath is a great example for this. She is a pretty strong healer. You could say she's mainly a healer. You could say she's mainly a reviver. Her revive is pretty decent. It's a one target revive, but still 60% HP, 60% turn meter. And so she gives us a pretty decent example of a reviver and where we might use them. She is my main reviver on this account, who I slot in whenever I need her. But let's talk about that a little later on. Let's go into her kit first. Her A1, I'm not too fussed about her A1. You can utilize this decreased attack though. It's only 50% when booked, so you can't really rely on it, so I'm not too fussed about it. Then we have a heal of all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP. This champion's max HP is always great, and she also brings us Perfect Veil, which is very interesting and on all allies, which is very interesting because Perfect Veil is one of the most important buffs for clan boss against. I always mix up the names, so I'm not going to say any names here. I'm just going to say it is a very important buff for clan boss, so that we don't get true fear on our champions. So she brings us that utility for mid game and late game, and that is great about Rector Drath because you will always be able to use her in later stages of the game, even if you've built her early and if you actually utilize her for early game stuff and for her revive and for her heals. So she has long-term value. That's great about her. Talking about the heal again, she has 17,000 base HP. It's not the craziest, but it is going to be enough to make a pretty decent heal out of this 20% heal. Also, we get 5% and 20% down below, so that improves the 20% here. And then we also get a 15% continuous heal buff on allies with less than 100% HP. I didn't mention this, the Perfect Veil is only placed when champions get to 100% HP with this heal that she brings. So even if champions don't get Perfect Veil, they at least get another 15% continuous heal, which is nice. Could be better, but it's nice. I would prefer it if this wasn't conditional, if the Perfect Veil wasn't conditional, if it just said heals all allies by 20% and places Perfect Veil for 2 turns. Especially because this is on a 4-turn cooldown. And this is, by the way, the reason why I didn't like her that much in the beginning. The 4-turn cooldown, the Perfect Veil, that's slightly conditional, but it turns out I'm very happy. I've used her on my last account, my endgame account, and I'm very happy that I'm able to use her in this account as well. By the way, she is, I got her from the Apprentice Pass. She is the Apprentice Pass champion in the beginning. She was in some download links as well that we got from Plarium. Not in every single one though. But I thought the combination of her being the Apprentice Pass champion and also being a download link champion is going to make it very likely that quite a few of you are going to have her. And so I thought a guide on her would be very nice. But let's get back to her kit actually. I think before I talk about the revive, I'll go to her passive first. Whenever an ally under Veil or Perfect Veil buff gets a turn, heals them by 10% of their max HP. Also increases the resistance of allies under Veil or Perfect Veil buffs by 50. Now this passive really makes her great. It is going to be useful just for her Veil and Perfect Veil. You can bring another Veil or Perfect Veil on your team even though it isn't necessary. But this guarantees you that she actually heals not only with this active ability, but also over time. And there is ways that this 4-turn cooldown can be bumped down, or is going to be bumped down to basically a 3-turn cooldown, at least in most situations. So I'll talk about that in a second. But that means that her passive ability really heals for quite a lot. 10% every turn of their max HP, 20% every 3 to 4 turns of Rector Drath. And also 50 resistance. This can be very useful in different situations. This is a bit more niche. It depends on where you use her, and it depends on your builds and your other champions if you have and want to build resistance on your champions. Yeah, but I think it's just a nice bonus. It's just an interesting bonus. And then after all those heals and all that utility that we get, because Perfect Veil gives us 15% less damage as well, we also get this revive, which is pretty decent. It's pretty strong. Revives all ally, a single, all would have been amazing. Revives a single ally with 60% HP, fills the turn meter by 60%. That's quite a bit. Like 60%, 60%, that's pretty decent. And also we get a Perfect Veil buff on that champion for 3 turns, guaranteeing us more heals and guaranteeing us that the revived ally isn't going to be targeted by the enemies immediately right after the revive. So, Rector Drath, her kit, generally speaking, I think pretty great, especially if you just need somebody who heals and revives and gives your team that, saves your team, gives your team that support that it needs. Aura, nothing to talk about here in dungeons, in Doom Tower battles, not really too crazy important, which is a bit of a pity, but I mean her kit is already great. So let us talk about this 4-turn cooldown on the heal on her A2 and on the Perfect Veil. Like I said, that's a bit of a pity, but you can make up for that and can really see that it isn't too impactful that this is a 4-turn cooldown by getting Rector Drath the right masteries. First off, it's very important. Well, you go down the healing side in the support tree. You could go offense as well and go for War Master. I didn't because I really want to get the most out of her utility. And you go down the healing side here, just improve her healing a bit, and then has a 30% chance of increasing the turn rate of 10% when a buff cast by this champion is removed, so that's pretty standard. We get a 5% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill. That's very nice. And then, this is important for her revive, increases her speed by 8 for each dead ally, stacks up to 24. Also increases this champion's turn meter by 20% whenever an allied hero drops below 25%. This doesn't have a cooldown. Now this is, I'm utilizing her in Clan Boss, and this is crazy important for Clan Boss, because coming to those later stages, to those later turns on Clan Boss, for me that's on Ultra Nightmare, that's around turn 30, I think. Every single AoE from the Clan Boss hits my champions down below 25%. And that means my team is, like, the survivability of my team is very equally spread amongst the champions, which means she basically gets 80% turn meter. Because it's 4 allies, which is pretty crazy. So timely intervention, if you check your champions, like the revivers, the healers, check your champions and check your team, then timely intervention can be crazy overpowered actually. Which is why I didn't put War Master on Rector Drath, which would have already been like a decent way to go. But I did put this on her because it guarantees me that when the Clan Boss hits with that AoE and nukes down all of my allies, that Rector Drath is either going to be able to heal them back up, or she won't be able to do that by herself. I do bring another healer on the team, but she either heals them back up, or if need be, she can pick up one or two, one of the remaining of the dead allies. But I'm also having another champion on the team who can stop fatal hits. So that's going to be Donatello, by the way. Just spoiler alert, looking on my Clan Boss team. But I think I've shown my Clan Boss team before in an earlier video. And then we also has a 30% chance to extend the duration of any buff cast by this champion by a turn. So that also increases the chance of the Perfect Veil staying up for a longer time, meaning more heals, meaning more damage mitigation. And then I just looked on the defense side, I just looked for her survivability. I think if you look for survivability on a champion, it's always amazing. You know, just defense is nice, especially because I have a bit of difficulty building enough defense on my Rector Drath, so the defense side is always nice, especially flat defense, then decreases damage received from AoE attacks by 5%, that's amazing. increases the amount of healing and value of shield buffs this champion receives by 5%, just means that she's going to be beefy quickly, going to be healed up quicker. And then delay death is one of the greatest masteries that we have on the defensive side. Reduces damage this champion receives up to 6%. It takes a bit of time, but up to 6%, and boss fights always, you know, you always take a lot of hits from that one boss. And that means you will definitely get 6% damage mitigation on bosses. So these are my masteries. I do have a relic on her, but just for the stats. Receives 5% less damage from enemies under provoke. Yeah, that isn't really happening against bosses, and I'm mostly fussed about her, or I mostly like her against bosses. Waves is also nice. But then we do have the gear as well. Like with all these masteries helping us to give Rector Drath more turn meter and prolong or extend the duration of buffs, we also have gear that reduces cooldowns or gives us extra turns. And that is, I think, the perfect build for Rector Drath. Speed is always great as well. Get her fast, get her quick. But this kind of build, I have Relentless and Impulse on her. The other option that you could go for, but I don't have very strong gear and Reflex. So the other option you could go for is Reflex if you don't have like these two, one like Immortal, not Immortal. I always mix up the gear sets. Relentless. Relentless is from, you mainly get from winning tournaments, and Impulse you get from doing live arena. So these sets are both relatively hard to get, especially because live arena is just, it's such a drag. It takes so long to complete the daily battles, I think. So I do totally understand if you don't do that. So consider putting your Rector Drath into Reflex alongside speed gear, for example. And that means that she is going to be fast, and also it's a 4-piece set, but a 40% chance to reduce random skills cooldown. If you are not yet in that phase of the fight where you need the revive, and where you have used the revive on Rector Drath, she's only going to have her heal, her A2. And that means a 40% chance on every single turn that she is going to get a cooldown reduction. 1 turn cooldown reduction on that skill, meaning that she is very likely going to go from a 4 turn to a 3 turn. 3 to 4 turn. Let's say it like this. Alright, so that's the gear. Stat-wise, I would have loved to build more stats on her, but that's the thing with these gear sets. You will sacrifice stats in order to give Rector Drath or any champion this kind of gear set. Especially because my account is relatively early in the game and I don't have the craziest stuff. Like this, for example, these gauntlets are great because they have resistance as substats, but I can't build enough resistance on her that it would actually give me any benefit, which is why it's useless. Building resistance is only useful if you hit certain thresholds, just like accuracy, and so this is useless, but still it gives me defense percent, it gives me speed. Great. HP again, attack percent, flat HP, but it does give me a bit of speed. Accuracy, not needed on my champion because I'm not looking for that accuracy threshold to land the decrease attack. The speed boots, the substats, horrible. This is actually amazing, great substats. This is, well, at least we get speed. We don't use crit rate, accuracy, and resistance, but we do use the speed here. And here we have, well, we have HP percent, you know? So on average, I have 1 substat on each piece that actually helps my Rector Drath. So that means the stats are not going to be amazing. Luckily, we have this weapon, because it's going to mean that the speed is going to be very decent, alongside putting these two very nice gear sets on her. All right. Just one last thing to talk about. I think this combination of gear is always great on supports. Like, it's not just Rector Drath, revivers, and healers, but also people who just bring you great utility, like Donatello. You could even argue that Hanurak would benefit a lot from these two gear sets. But if you have champions that have 4-turn cooldowns, then that is something that you especially want to look into, and especially want to improve by putting these gear sets on them. All right, so I think that's all I want to talk about Rector Drath right here. Yeah, blessings, defensive blessings. I don't think I'm not going to go into that too much on this video. I think because that's very much down to personal preference and also what your team already brings you. Yeah, anything that improves heals or gives her a bit more survivability is great. But you could also, I mean, if you don't have it on your team, you could also go cruelty. But that's, you know, that's what I mean. It's very individually. It's a very individual decision, and so I'm not going to go into that. So, what are the? I don't want to show her in too many places because she doesn't do too many special areas for many special places. She does nothing special for Spider except for survivability. She does nothing special for Fire Knight except for survivability. She does nothing special anywhere except for Hydra, I think, because of the Perfect Veil. But apart from that, her role is always going to be the same. Heals, revives, and a bit of survivability with the Perfect Veil. I think the Perfect Veil is very nice in many situations as well, just because it's a buff that you don't bring too often. So if you have increased speed and increased defense and strength on your team, for example, and then you look for a reviver and you take Rector Drath, there is also that benefit of 15% damage mitigation from the Perfect Veil, which is very nice. All right, so because she is so generally useful, let me just get the energy from... I did my live arena battles today. Let me just get the energy from here, and then I think I'm going to show her in Dragon, which is a interesting area. What do you think? Why can't we look at the gear from the multi-battles here? Like the background battles. Why can't I see that gear right here? I think Plarium should really make it possible to see that gear immediately and sell it immediately. But hey, it is what it is. So I'm not utilizing her in Dragon right now. Let me quickly get up show you my clan boss team. Oh no, clan boss clan boss just renewed cycled through. Okay, so why not? Let's claim some Ultra Nightmare. Ooh, clan boss chest. Sacred Shards, we all need these for the guaranteed Leonardo event that is hopefully coming up. Hopefully another Sacred Shard. What? What is happening? Alright, that's amazing. The rest is nothing too crazy, but double Sacred Shard. Damn. Raid is favoring me today. I can't even show you my team because I don't have any keys. Okay, so I'm using Rector Drath next to Leonardo, next to Donatello as my healers, and the rest of the champions on the team are basically either damage dealers, two damage dealers, to Hanurak for extra defense, and then we have only 2 healers, Rector Drath and Donatello. So we have those 2, and they are in between AoEs. Those 2 are able to pick me up to full HP almost every single time. So that is absolutely amazing on Rector Drath. Granted, in combination with another strong healer, they are both strong healers, even though you might not think that or might not see that the first time you look at Donatello's kit, but they are both strong healers. Now, I don't have her in my Dragon team right now. Why is that? Mainly because I have very strong champions here for Dragon 20. I could probably look into going for Dragon 24 by now, but I don't want to because Dragon 20 is more efficient for tournaments, and that is really what I'm looking for right now, efficiency, energy-wise. And yeah, these champions are so strong that I don't need a reviver. Donatello is one amazing support. I do need to level him. I'm trying to level up Elenaral on the side as well, just a little bit. I even thought about taking out Deacon and putting in Gom instead. So this team is not in need of a reviver at all. However, if we don't have these crazy champions, especially early game, mid game, if we don't have these crazy champions, if we want to bring some poisoners, some squishy poisoners, like Kale, for example, who is very, very strong in combination with Donatello, by the way, because Donatello is going to reduce the cooldown of that big poison skill from Kale on the A3, which is pretty strong. So Kale out of sudden dishes out so many poisons, it's crazy. He dishes out an amazing amount. He's even better than a Cold Brawler, in my opinion, because Kale helps you against waves, and then also dishes out a crazy amount of poisons alongside Donatello. But that's not the topic today. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked so much. It's annoying me. I hope it isn't annoying you too much. All right. So what kind of a team would we need Rector Drath in? Deacon gives us decreased defense, decreases the enemy's turn meter. Great. Doesn't help us too much against the boss though. Kale is going to help us against the dragon, so the poisons. He's also going to do some damage against waves. Then we do want to get more damage in against the waves, which is why we are going to put Bellower into this team as well. And this already makes for a relatively squishy team. And now I think I would probably bring I will bring a damage dealer here. I think I will bring a damage dealer. Mikey is a very strong one. I will put him first as well. I need his aura for the accuracy. And I think this is a very interesting team to showcase in Dragon, because we have one tanky damage dealer and he's not going to die. But Kale and Bellower, they are definitely in danger. And so this is a team that I haven't tried this team, so let's see how this does. But I think this might be a great showcase for Rector Drath, because she heals so much. She picks the ones that die back up. If Kale dies against some random wave, then he's just going to be picked back up, and I think that's really great. All right, I think that's the best way to show Rector Drath. I don't think it's really necessary to show her in any more areas. It's more important to talk about her kit, I guess. And oh, Michelangelo taking the damage because of the taunt. That's not what I wanted to see here. Yeah, I think it's more important to talk about her kit and all of the mechanics that make her as strong as she is and that make her stronger. So I think I will just let this run through and see if any of my allies die in this team. And I will show you the pickup. Yeah, but I mean, you can already see from that A1 that that's a third of Kale's damage. The danger of him dying at some point is very, very high. I didn't take into account that Mikey is just going to take a lot of the damage because of the taunt. But that, I guess that shows his values as well. Especially when you get a 5-star soul on him, he's going to be very tanky. Whatever kind of gear you put on him, he is still going to be pretty tanky with that shield again as well. All right. Yeah, I'll just see if there is somebody dying here and if Rector Drath picks that person back up. But I think the point is pretty... The point is made, I hope. She gives you the possibility to put together a squishy team. She can make a team work that otherwise wouldn't work, either because your account isn't progressed very much, or because you just want to put 4 damage dealer into a team and you need somebody to keep that team together and keep that team alive. Rector Drath is a great option. Alright guys, Rector Drath is just too much of a healer. Everybody is like, if they get attacked by the dragon, then everybody's just picked up so quickly again that nobody's dying on this team apparently. But I think I've made my point. I'm not going to repeat this run and try different team compositions until somebody actually dies. This run is going to be over in a second. But I really hope I've made my point. What do you think about Rector Drath? Have you utilized her? Do you use revivers in raid in order to make runs safer or to make runs possible at all? Because I think it is a great method. I do talk about Tagore a lot in this on this channel. I haven't built him, but I feel like I always mention him because he's another great option. Heals, mitigations, AoE revive. Yeah, he's another great option. But Rector Drath certainly has more use in late game, just for Hydra, just because of her perfect veil, and yeah, and all the rest that her kit brings as well. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed it to a reasonable extent, and I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you on the next one. Until then.